Hi ladies and gentlemen, here again. It's video time again. As usual, there are links in the description below to interesting things that or to things that might interest you. The title of this video, as well as the article link to it, or to which it is attached or in which it is embedded, is called Ghost Stories. I just thought that I'd do this for fun in a relative sense. In that article, I basically share a couple of stories about the fact that I had always had up to the point that I became an occultist. I always had spirits. I almost always, at least once a year, had spirits pestering me or bothering me. Long story short, that is simply due to one of my character traits, which is to be seen in my astrological natal chart. The sun is 6 degrees in Libra. That 6 degrees in Libra means magnetic, occult magnetism, or just the psychic aspect. In short, it simply means that I am like a magnet for spirits, but it depends on my own outlook, and I'm more of a pessimist than an optimist. You know, that for people that know me, or for those of you that know me or that have followed me for a while, you guys know that I don't appear in any case that I'm not the friendliest, not in the sense that I'm not somebody that just smiles and goes skipping when going out on the street or anything like that. I'm more serious minded. And unfortunately, over the course of my life, before I became an occultist, because of that, without even wanting it to happen, I attracted dark entities towards me that wanted to harm me instead of the opposite, instead of the other way around. But that's just who I am, okay? I'm a dark individual, and I glorify destruction, necessary destruction, and so on. My background says enough. So yeah, I just thought that I'd share some stories with you guys. I already shared a couple of stories in the article itself, okay? Over the course of my life, it has at least happened once a year that I came into contact with, or that a spirit approached me, or that I was bothered by a spirit. The first story I tell in the article is back when I was a blood donor for the local Red Cross in my location. Again, long story short, I just donated blood back then. I was a blood donor, and one of the basic requirements is that you need to be well rested and that you need to have eaten beforehand. Not a full meal or anything, but at least something like bread. You need, in any case, don't donate blood on an empty stomach. That's one of their basic rules. And I remember that the day before, or the evening before, I couldn't sleep. I just kept tossing and turning in bed. And I just said to myself, oh, it's time to donate blood again. And I went to donate blood in the morning time. Let's just say 9 a.m. approximately. And shortly after doing that, I walked outside and I started feeling dizzy. I just went under a roof of an adjacent building. I just went for shade. I just went to get some shade under the roof of an adjacent building, of a building that is across the Red Cross office. And I just, while I sat there, I was like, oh, I'm feeling dizzy, I'm feeling nauseous, and then it hit me, holy shit, or holy crap, I forgot to eat, and I haven't slept all night. That's why I feel this way. And I thought to myself, I'm going to head back into the Red Cross office because they have air conditioner in there, air conditioning in there, and I'm just going to sit there and just going to wait it out. Basically, I'm just going to sit there and relax until I feel 100% again. And it was while I was walking to the office of the Red Cross. I wasn't literally walking across the street. There was no road in between. I found myself on just a grassy plain, basically a grassy driveway or a vegetative driveway. And all of a sudden, boom, everything went black. And that wasn't normal. Even if I had blacked out, I would have realized it, as in, oh, bruh. But everything went black, like lights out, bloop. And then all of a sudden I woke up completely dazed and confused on the floor, on the ground. And I saw two guys looking at me, and these guys helped me up. These were also blood donors. They basically dragged me into the office and they sat me down, and I had a gash on my arm, my right arm, and also a couple of other scrapes and bruises on other parts of my body. And and they asked me what the hell happened. I told them, hey, it was, I started feeling dizzy because I forgot to eat before I came to donate blood, and I haven't slept all night. So that's the reason I felt that way. And I thought to myself, I'd just come back into you guys' office because it's hot outside and you guys have air conditioning, and I can just, you guys have air conditioning, and I can just, you know, I can just sit and relax and take it easy until that nausea goes away. That was my plan, but I don't know what happened. All of a sudden I blacked out, and they said, they thought to themselves, you know, every normal person would say, okay, so no, you blacked out most likely. You didn't make it, to put it that way, okay? You just blacked out halfway. And, but of course that wasn't the case, okay? I took a cab home after I rested up. They helped me, they bandaged me and so on. And I took a cab home, and I took a cab.
Do you speak a Chinese?
I took a cab home. Just ignore my ringtone. I took a cab home, and and even when I got home, okay, I started puking heavily. I couldn't move. I felt crippled to the point where I couldn't walk. And then my parents brought me to the hospital again. They brought me to the nearest first aid center, and I had to stay there overnight. I had to take a bunch of those pills that go up the butt. I forgot what they're called officially. You have to take those kinds of pills that have to be inserted rectally, and even that wouldn't help. I stayed overnight for observational purposes, and even when I went home, I had to be pushed around in a wheelchair. And even after I could walk again, I still wasn't able to function for the coming weeks, or for the weeks following. I couldn't do anything. I wanted to work. I went to work, but I couldn't. I had to call in sick halfway. Not literally call in sick, but I had to literally tell them, hey, I can't finish up the rest of the day. I feel horribly sick, blah, blah, blah. I'm gone. And my department head, or the head of the department that I worked for, saw that, and she contacted my parents, and she told my parents, nah, this is, she contacted my parents and told them, nah, this is I think I'm just going to give him the week off, or I'm going to book him as absent for a week because he can't move and so on. And I was like, okay, I understand all of that, and I thought to myself, okay, what the hell am I going to do? All the while, in the back of my head, I knew that the entire way that it had happened, is that, no, it's just ignore it. Just ignore him, figuratively speaking. No offense meant to you. It's just Chrono saying hi. And then I basically just, I knew in the back of my head, that in the back of my mind, or I just knew in my mind that the reason for this was supernatural. I was like, no, the entire way that it happened, it's not possible, okay? How can I literally just walk somewhere, walk to a certain location? I want to walk into an office, and I'm walking in the driveway. The driveway is maybe 10 meters long, okay? 10 meters long and 10 meters wide. And all of a sudden black out, not in a normal way, that's for starters, okay? I just blacked out, boom. I didn't black out like someone would normally black out from some kind of physical ailment or affliction. I didn't just go, everything didn't just go dark gradually, like, no. It just went, it literally was like somebody switched off the lights, plop. That was already, my intuition already told me, nah. So most likely somebody attacked you, okay? Some spirit attacked you while you were trying to walk inside, while you were heading towards the Red Cross office. And the second thing is the entire way that I fell. I blacked out at 10 meters distance from the driveway. And then all of a sudden, I came to right in front of their porch, right in front of the office. How can I literally try to walk from this location all of a sudden, and then a blackout here, and then literally just wake up here? That is not possible. I can't go from here to here. So yeah, that wasn't right. And I said to myself, no, something's wrong. I got attacked by some kind of supernatural force or a spirit or something. That's why I won't heal normally, okay? Because the nature of the disease is not physical. It's not physical in nature. And so I went to visit a local seer. I just looked up someone and I became friends with her for a couple of years. I haven't seen her in ages. It's not necessary to see her. She's just a local, let's just say, not an occultist, but let's just say a local clairvoyant, your local witch, to put it that way. And I explained everything to her, and she told me, I'm going to check things out for you and so on. Okay. And afterwards she told me I can come back in a week or something, and she told me, yes, your suspicions have been confirmed. I checked it out for you, and via my clairvoyant faculties and so on, and yeah, you were attacked by a dead person, somebody that lived there. Somebody that died at that local Red Cross office, and that person was bitter due to the fact that she died there. That person was distraught, okay, about the way that he or she died. I can't remember whether it's a he or she, it doesn't matter. That person was just plain bitter and angry over the fact that his or her life had ended there. And that person basically lashes out at anybody whenever he or she gets the chance. And that person saw you in your already weakened state due to the fact that you felt dizzy and you hadn't eaten or slept in 24 hours. And that person simply capitalized on that and knocked you out cold. That's why you also have that mark on your hand, your arm, which won't go away. I have that mark right here. It's beside my tattoo. You'll barely be able to see it. Let me see if I can show you guys it. You can see that dark piece here, this dark piece right here on where my finger is at. It's darker than the rest of my skin. That is the mark. That mark has healed. It used to be like maybe this. It used to be gigantic, but over the course of the year, since it had happened, okay, then it gradually grew smaller to the point where it's nothing more than like a kind of like an ink blotch on my arm. And I don't mind having it there. I can remove it. My patron asked me, we can remove that thing if you'd like. But I was like, no, it's okay. I don't want it removed. It's just unnecessary. It makes for a nice remembrance, to put it that way. Yeah. And that is one example of the many things that I've been through in my life regarding spiritual contact or communication. It is spiritual contact or communication, sorry. So yeah, that's just another example. Let me see if I have anything else. No, that's just another example. Okay, that's just another example that I can give you guys. That's just one example. Sorry. Another example that I can give, for example, is that I was working as a security guard at a remote location at the chairman of some company's house. This was a while ago, but not too long ago. I wasn't a child back then, obviously. I was a security guard. This was, 2018. This was in 2013 or 2014, around that time. It doesn't seem too long ago, only 4 years ago or something, but for me it's ages. It's a century ago. Okay, I was not even into the occult back then. I was not even into the occult back then. So I was not into the occult back then. And I remember I was at a location and I fell asleep due to boredom. I usually brought my computer or my laptop to work so that I had something to keep me busy or preoccupied. And I was just sitting at a desk, okay, outside in open air. That also contributed to everything, to it happening, to the entire event happening or taking place. And I just, it was just a house. It was literally just a house, kind of like the CEO of a company's house. But the guy wasn't a CEO. He was the chairman of a local gold mining company. And I literally they basically had a desk, like the desk that I have, but underneath the house. It was a house consisting of 2 stories, with the upper story having a balcony. And I was at the bottom, I was at the ground floor, okay, basically. And I sat behind a desk. That was their so-called desk for the night watchman or security guard on duty, and I worked there. And I remember I fell asleep at 10 p.m. all of a sudden. I hadn't even realized that I'd fallen asleep. It was just boredom. I sat like this and I had nothing to do for hours on end. And I just sat like this and I was bored out of my mind, and somewhere along the line I fell asleep, and then I dreamt that I sat in an office, kind of like a doctor's office, and there was some kind of soldier or somebody with a huge backpack, okay? We're talking about one of those military grade backpacks that soldiers take with them on missions. And that person all of a sudden stopped right in front of me with his backpack straight in my face. And what happened is that his backpack basically restricted my breathing. And I couldn't breathe. I was like, what the fuck are you doing? I can't breathe. And I started getting angry in that dream. And all of a sudden I woke up, okay? And when I woke up, I realized that I also wasn't able to breathe in actuality for a minute or something, because the entire way that I woke up, I was like, I literally woke up completely gasping for air. And that's when I basically looked outside, and in the driveway, okay, right where the gate is, the electrical gate or fence, I saw a guy dressed in colonial clothing, okay, colonial clothes, kind of like the clothes that cotton pickers used to wear, but it was completely white, okay, kind of like the clothes that slaves used to wear back in colonial days and slavery time, you know, black slaves. But he was completely dressed in white, but the guy was black. This was kind of like a maroon. We're talking about a bush Negro, a completely black person, okay? The guy was a black guy. The guy was completely dark skinned. We're talking about African type dark skin, wearing completely black clothes, or completely white clothing, colonial clothing. I was like, oh, motherfucker, you son of a bitch, you're not gonna make me sleep again, are you? I can forget taking a nap for the rest of the evening or for the rest of the night. And the guy disappeared after a couple of seconds, and I was like, nah, I won't be able to sleep again. I tried going to sleep again after a couple of hours, but I all of a sudden started getting an immense headache, and I looked up and the guy was there again. And I was like, oh, you fucking sack of shit, you won't let me sleep. I won't be able to sleep. I'm already sleep. And I got a headache because my headache only worsened due to the fact that I wasn't able to sleep for the rest of the night, because I hadn't slept at home before I came to work. So I was literally just like, I just sat like this, and I was like, that's another example. I can give you guys countless other examples. Another story, I was also a night watchman. Same job, I worked as a security guard at a remote location. I sat in a guard's house, let's just say one of those pre-camp cabins that they have, those steel cabins that they use at construction sites and related. And I was basically the night watchman at a company an IT company in a secluded part of town. It wasn't a bad part of town, it was the good part of town, okay, kind of like an upper class part of town, but those kinds of locations, generally speaking, are abandoned, or at least semi-abandoned. You rarely see someone. You can see traffic every now and then, but you don't see somebody out on the street or anything like that. No, you can forget all of that. And it was 5 a.m. in the morning, and I just took a nap, and I locked that pre-camp cabin and everything, but due to the heat, I wanted to remain cold, so I left those blinds open. Those are shutters. They have shutters on those thingies, on those pre-camp cabins. They're like windows, but they're basically like glass-plated layers of windows. And I just left those open, and all of a sudden I dreamt that I was standing in front of that guardhouse, that pre-camp cabin. I was standing in front of the building, and I saw a tiny little black kid, an ugly little black kid, okay, with horrendous dental work, okay. The guy that kid had mangled teeth and everything, and it was kind of like a kid, basically estimated in age. He couldn't have been older than like what? He couldn't have been older than 8 years old or something. And he looked at me menacingly, and he just charged at me. And I just looked at him, and I literally, by the time that he tried to attack me, and by the time that he reached me, by the time he was within foot's length, I just lifted up my foot and I booted the kid in the face. And that kid was completely unconscious. And that's when I had woken up, And the second I had woken up, I felt literally every hair on my body stand up straight. I looked at my arms, and every hair was standing up straight, like I received a shock of electricity or something, like one jolt of electricity. And I looked at the time, I was like, what time is it? Oh, 5 a.m. Holy shit, no wonder, I need to close those shutters. Another example, I can give you guys countless examples. Okay, back when I worked at that same location, 4 a.m. in the morning, I sat there too, and all of a sudden I heard somebody whistling behind me. Somebody whistling outside. 4 a.m., there's no one on the street, and I literally just heard, I can't whistle, sorry. So I heard loud whistling, and okay, I go outside and I'm like, who the hell did that? There's no one. It's 4 a.m. in the morning on a working day, a business day. So everybody's sound asleep, not one person in sight. And I already told you guys, the location is a secluded location. And I was like, okay, has to be some dead person or some asswipe spirit that wants to be funny or that wants to draw my attention. This is literally just to give you guys an idea, okay? And stuff like this, paranormal stuff happens all over the world. I don't think I need to state that. I need to emphasize that. But paranormal stuff like this happens literally all over the globe. It doesn't matter where you are. From Australia to Canada, from Japan to Chile or Argentina. This stuff happens all over the globe, okay? So that's normal. I mean, even here locally, there are plenty. I have read plenty of ghost stories, true ghost stories. This isn't some kind of YouTube channel trying to get hits or something. And I literally read stories about people that swore on their lives, okay, back in the 80s, back in the beginning 90s, when there wasn't enough in the way of adequate electricity here, and and these people they listed their full names. We're talking about a magazine that printed out supernatural stories, and these people gave up everything, their entire information, to prove their validity, to prove the merit of the story, their full name, their contact, their everything, okay? Their first name, last name, and you name it. And I have countless stories, okay? We're talking about, I read a story, for example, where, and I even asked my parents, because some of these stories were so phenomenal in nature, and I was like, I asked my parents, is all of this stuff true? I know that it's true, but I don't know, it's so out of this world. And my parents, they were those kinds of people, you know, they experienced these things too, and they told me, yeah, all of the stuff that's written on there, all of that stuff is true. We experienced it in the 60s and the 70s and so on. And locally here, there was a gigantic tree that used to uproot itself and that used to walk around town. We're talking about the center of town. There is a local place here, a place where most commercially owned buses, most independently owned buses, so non-government issued or non-state buses, non-state issued or government issued buses. These are buses that are independently owned by private owners, where these buses basically park, and that entire parking space, it's like a football field. And buses park there nowadays, but that didn't used to be the case back then. And it was, it's called Doll's Yard here. That's the official name for it, Doll's Yard or Doll Yard. And there used to be a gigantic tree there and in the 80s, I read a story in the 80s or 1985 or something, around the time that I was born, where that tree used to uproot itself, literally just to uproot itself. It pulled its own roots out of the ground, and it used to walk around town. Not too far, it maybe walked for it did a lap or something, a lap or two around the block, and then it came back to its location. And people from town, they tried everything, including putting gigantic boat-sized chains on that tree. They tried to constrict that tree during the daytime because the tree would only uproot itself at night. They tried everything to prevent that tree from doing what it did, but nah, it broke through those gigantic chains like it was like a knife through hard butter, and nothing could stop it, okay? Another story, another example that I can give is of a is of another night watchman that told the story of a graveyard shift that he used to commit to or used to work at. He worked for a local, I think a local aluminum company or something, and he had to literally do the deed. He had to defecate. He had to go to the bathroom in the morning time, 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning. And unfortunately, the groundskeeper or the caretaker accidentally took the keys to the bathroom, the keys to the toilet with him. He had taken it with him on that day. And of course, the guy really couldn't hold it in. So he just couldn't hold it in. And he told himself, nah, I have to do something. I have to go. I really gotta go. I can't hold it in anymore. And he just went behind a secluded location, I think behind the factory where he was standing guard. He went behind the factory of that aluminum company onto an empty patch of land. And after he was done defecating, after he defecated, he felt something choking him, and he tried to scream and cry out for help, but he says that no thing came out of his voice. He said that he was mute then. He opened up his mouth, but no sound came out of his mouth. And it was then that he heard somebody utter the phrase, literally clean your crap up, otherwise we're going to make you wish that you were sorry, okay? Clean this crap up, otherwise you'll be sorry. And he heard somebody repeat that 3 times. And after 3 times, he was able to talk again normally, and he felt that person that had choked him, he felt that person let go. And and he was completely terrified. He said that his entire body was shivering, and he just went to get a shovel to clean up his doo-doo. He went to clean up his excrement and his fecal matter, and he just buried it neatly and everything. And he was afraid in the beginning. He was completely terrified. He did not want to utter a single phrase to anybody about it. He didn't want to tell a soul. But he finally mustered up the courage after a couple of months, and he mustered up the courage after a couple of months, and he told a colleague of his what happened. And that colleague of him told him that place where you went to defecate behind that aluminum factory, that place used to be a slave plantation. There used to be slaves working there back when there were still cotton fields there and so on. And that was the reason. I was like, oh, okay. Again, these are just countless stories. I could keep going on and on and on and on and on, because I really love these kind of stories. I had an entire collection. I had practically every magazine of that publisher, but unfortunately, alas, I don't have them anymore. That's how rare they were. I mean, these things were printed in the 1970s and the 1980s, back when there wasn't even internet here. There was barely any proper electricity or any kind of proper water supply here locally. This place was literally like the sticks. It still is the sticks, but a bit more developed now than compared to back then. Yeah, and lastly, I'm going to close off with by stating too that in the beginning of my occult practices, back when I was an absolute beginner, I learned basic things like astral traveling, and I practiced it. I also attracted a buttload of spirits that came into my apartment. And I remember, because when I astral traveled, I met spirits, and one of these spirits told me that he heard that there was simply a magician practicing techniques, and he simply came to check it out. And that he's not nosy or that he doesn't want to stick his nose in that person's business. He doesn't know that I'm the one that was practicing, but he just came to check things out. He's just curious. It was just pure curiosity for him. And I also had a couple of malevolent entities. I remember one time when I astral traveled, I felt something touching my body. And back when I went into my apartment, I saw some kind of demonic-looking creature, some ugly-ass spirit that literally was poking at my physical body, or that was that had his foot on my chest, because my astral body is connected to your astral body is connected to your physical body. So I felt something pressing on my chest, and I was like, what the hell is that? And I just went back to my apartment, and I was like, get the fuck out of here. And immediately the guy left, or that thing left. And I went back into my physical body. I retreated back into my physical body, and I was like, no, that's annoying. Okay, these spirits are way too nosy. Okay, this is really starting to get annoying, because I had literally spirits coming in on a daily basis. So it goes without saying that magical activity will automatically attract, or astral activity, any kind of magical activity will attract spirits by default. And oh, my beloved Lord Samael, once I started working with him, all of that stopped. All of that activity stopped. All of it. No more spirits pestering me. No more nosy spirits coming around. And I loved it. I noticed it right away, okay? It was like completely quiet. My entire environment, my entire vicinity, everywhere I go is completely quiet, okay? Every now and then you'll have some kind of nosy spirit, but that basically just looks at me and that comes close to me, but that spirit can't touch me or harm me because of him. And he's just like, hey, you want me to tell him to get lost, or you want me to squash his ass, or you want me to, it's just a nosy guy, get lost. And boom, that spirit immediately leaves, okay? That's what I like about it so much. My entire house right now, completely quiet. The only guys that I see are the guys that I work with, okay? Because he allows them, because he knows that I work with them, so he allows them to come near me, okay? But otherwise, nah. No annoying, just nosy spirits or nosy entities coming within me. Everything, I remember, he completely wiped off, he wiped the entire slate clean, to put it that way. Everything was completely quiet, no annoying entities anymore and everything. And that's what I love, one of the things that I loved about him so much. And I noticed it. Back then, I mean, when I was still, back before him, I was still, I mean, I could barely sleep sometimes, because there was way too much astral activity going on, where I literally had to ask spirits, random spirits, will you guys please just let me sleep? I'm trying to sleep. And it helped sometimes, you know, sometimes they heard me and they were like, oh, okay, fine, we'll leave. But other times they just kept hanging around, and it caused me honestly, it caused me to lose sleep, and it literally instigated restlessness inside me. It instigated restlessness within me. But after him, God, I love it so much. I love him so much. I mean, I also remember one time that I wanted to sleep, but that there were a couple of angels around me, too many angels, and it was like, okay, all of you, please leave. Morino wants to sleep. So you guys need to leave, okay? If you guys want to deal with him, then come back some other time. But he wants to sleep right now. Get lost, all of you. And boom, they just left like that. And that's just another example that I want to give. That's just, that's one of the goodies.